The Fall of Reach, also referred to as the Battle of Reach and Reach campaign, was a massive and brutal engagement during the Human Covenant War. This conflict took place on and around the planet Reach, a human colony located in the Epsilon Eridani system, lasting from July 25th to August 30th, 2552. Initial hostilities began on July 23rd, 2552, with a small Covenant task force led by the Shawata pattern supercarrier, Long Night of Solace, covertly establishing a foothold on Reach. The Covenant sought to seize control and hunt for Forerunner artifacts, while the UNSC countered with a ground campaign aimed at expelling the invaders before the arrival of reinforcements. Despite the UNSC's efforts, the Covenant's hold grew stronger, and significant reinforcements led by Thel Vadami arrived, turning the tide of the battle in their favor. The Covenant eventually breached Reach's orbital defense grid and overwhelmed the UNSC's ground forces, leading to the glassing of the planet. Though isolated skirmishes continued, UNSC remnants were ultimately rescued by a small party led by John 117. While the battle resulted in a devastating defeat for the UNSC, Noble Team's successful mission to prevent the capture of Cortana's fragment led to the Pillar of Autumn, engaging the Covenant in a decisive battle on Halo Installation 04. The experience gained from this engagement, coupled with the political schism within the Covenant during their attack on Earth, played a pivotal role in the ultimate defeat of the Covenant. Prior to July 19, 2552, the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, conducted calculations to predict the future movement of the Covenant force throughout the galaxy. These calculations revealed that there was an 87% likelihood of the Covenant discovering the Epsilon Eridani system within 5 months. However, Admiral Margaret Parangoski, the head of ONI, debated with Vice Admiral Michael Stanforth about whether to use Reach as the staging ground for Operation Red Flag. They were concerned that the large-scale Forerunner artifacts on the planet would draw the attention of the Covenant. Despite their concerns, the rest of the UNSC received no warning of the impending attack. The predictions made by ONI proved accurate when Supreme Commander Ro Barudami of the Fleet of Valiant Prudence secured a luminary that revealed the location of Reach less than a week after Admiral Parangoski sent her message. Although Barudami was victorious against the humans in the Beta Eridani system, he did not realize the significance of Reach to the UNSC and was unconcerned with the humans in the Epsilon Eridani system. The Fleet of Valiant Prudence, including a Shawata pattern supercarrier, Long Night of Solace, arrived at Reach on July 23rd. They had acquired a luminary that marked the presence of Forerunner technology across the system. Upon arrival, the Covenant deployed a large ground force to the Vieri territory, while cloaking themselves from UNSC sensors using sophisticated stealth pylons. Meanwhile, a small Sangheili Zealot strike team led by a field marshal was dispatched to recover a Forerunner artifact near the Visegrad communications outpost. They disabled the communications array at Visegrad, cutting off contact with the northern part of Alfold from the rest of the UNSC, but their mission went unnoticed by the UNSC. Instead, the Office of Naval Intelligence suspected an ultra-radical cell of the People's Occupation, a local insurrectionist organization, to be responsible for the loss of contact with the facility. In response, the Army was deployed into Palhaza, and several fire teams, including 3 Charlie, were sent to investigate the matter. However, contact with these fire teams was lost shortly after their arrival. After the Visegrad relay was disabled, Spartan Noble Team was dispatched to investigate the incident in place of the missing Army fire teams on the following day. Noble Team had been conducting anti-insurrection operations in the region and was nearby to assist. The team quickly discovered that the attack was not caused by insurrectionists, but rather a small Covenant advance force that had landed on Reach at Visegrad, with the objective of disrupting Reach's communication with other UNSC colonies. After eliminating the advance force, Noble Team proceeded to the relay station, where they were ambushed by a group of Sangheili Zealots who were sent to retrieve crucial data on a Forerunner artifact. Subsequently, the winter contingency was initiated on Reach. The Covenant utilized their cloaking technology and stealth tactics to establish a secure landing zone on Reach, complete with anti-air guns surrounding the perimeter of their staging area in the Viri territory. They had discreetly inserted a significant amount of forces, including multiple corvettes. Following the skirmish at Visegrad, the Covenant launched an assault on Sword Base 2 days later, with the aim of overpowering the Office of Naval Intelligence facility and gaining access to the Forerunner structures present there. However, Noble Team came to the aid of the base and reinforced its defenses, restoring its M71 anti-aircraft guns and communications. The Covenant's attack was thwarted, and their corvette was forced to retreat and ultimately destroyed by a magnetic accelerator cannon on an orbital defense platform. More than 2 weeks after the defense of Sword Base, the UNSC dispatched reconnaissance teams into Covenant-controlled territory to prepare for a counterattack and gather intelligence on enemy positions and strength. With a fortified Covenant staging ground on Reach, the UNSC Army, Marine Corps, and Navy launched a joint offensive in an effort to eliminate the enemy forces before reinforcements arrived. The Army and Noble Team led the charge, attacking the Covenant anti-air weapons to clear the way for bombing runs by GATL-1 longswords and Paris-class heavy frigates. Despite early success, a cloaked Shawata-patterned supercarrier called the Long Night of Solace appeared and reinforced the Covenant forces, thwarting the UNSC attack. In addition, the Covenant made a successful second strike on Sword Base. As the ground battle raged on, RHO's forces in space engaged UNSC naval forces across the system, including light battle groups consisting mainly of Paris-class heavy frigates and a Marathon-class heavy cruiser. After the winter contingency was declared on Reach, personnel at Teller Station, a research laboratory working at Site 17 in the system's Oort cloud, began to evacuate. This triggered Forerunner systems at the site, alerting the fleet of Valiant Prudence to its presence. Rowe deployed a significant portion of his fleet, including SDV-class corvettes and Ket-pattern battlecruisers, to the site, only to be met with more frigates and heavy cruisers deployed by UNSC Admiral Michael Stanforth. Although the Covenant forces overran the defenses at Site 17, the humans were able to extract the artifact. The Covenant tried to board the human flagship to retrieve it, but Stanforth intended to use the artifact to lure the Covenant into a trap near Reach. The battle group was able to break free from their pursuers, and Stanforth called in reinforcements to halt the pursuing Covenant squadrons. After the cloaked supercarrier disrupted the UNSC's ground assault on Reach, the UNSC devised a bold plan called Operation Uppercut, in which Noble Team would utilize FSS 1000 Sabre starfighters to capture the Covenant corvette Ardent Prayer, plant an improvised slipspace drive bomb on it, and use it to destroy the supercarrier. Before the operation, the team had to defend the Sabre research site at Farkas Lake from an attack and then re-equip at Refit Station Anchor 9, Spartan B-312, George 052. And an Army pilot team, aided by the frigate Savannah, boarded the Ardent Prayer and commandeered it. Meanwhile, Supreme Commander Barutami of the Covenant realized the importance of Reach and the threat posed by the UNSC's presence on the surface. The Ministry of Resolution sent a large fleet to the planet, and the Covenant's artifact hunting teams were still bogged down. The commander needed to produce something of value soon, or face retribution from the hierarchs. UNSC Admiral Stanforth had spread his fleet thin, and the UNSC launched Operation Left Jab to distract the supercarrier while Noble Team carried out their mission, unnoticed due to the jamming of their target corvette's communications. UNSC task forces capitalized on the stretched thin Covenant fleet, attacking cut-off scout fleets. Noble 5 sacrificed himself to destroy the Long Night of Solace. But the Ministry of Resolution's massive fleet of warships emerged from slipspace just as the supercarrier was destroyed. The supercarrier's wreckage fell near New Alexandria, killing Barutami, and shipmaster Cantor Utarali took command of what remained of the fleet of Valiant Prudence. Despite the mission's success, the destruction of the supercarrier caused an unintended setback for Operation Red Flag. The operation required building a Class 5 Covenant vessel, like a CAS-class assault carrier or a CSO-class supercarrier, and Admiral Stanforth expressed frustration at the Unified Special Warfare Command's trigger happiness when he learned of the supercarrier's destruction several days later. vessel. During the following week, the Covenant began their invasion of Reach, with ground forces and ships targeting key areas for destruction. In the city of New Alexandria, a major siege occurred between August 18th to August 23rd, resulting in large numbers of civilian evacuation transports being shot down by Covenant forces. Noble Team worked alongside UNSC forces to clear the city and evacuate civilians, but Covenant naval assets began glassing the city as they retreated, resulting in the death of Catherine B-320 by sniper fire. Other evacuation stations on the planet were also attacked and ceased responding. Despite the invasion, the majority of the planet's population, including military personnel involved in Operation Red Flag, were kept in the dark about the true nature of the conflict. This was due to the Army's insistence that they had the ground battle under control, and the hope that a Class 5 Covenant vessel would make itself vulnerable for capture. Millions perished as a result of this inaction. Captain Jacob Keyes, known for his eagerness to engage in battle, was purposely kept uninformed about the Covenant attack to prevent premature engagement. Eventually, he was informed of the situation, but was ordered to keep the crew of the UNSC Pillar of Autumn in the dark. As the battle continued, the ship was stationed over La Batlan, where strange electromagnetic readings were detected from Tyrol. Meanwhile, Noble Team was tasked with destroying the Covenant-occupied sword base in a mission known as Operation White Glove. While in the base, they encountered Dr. Catherine Halsey and helped defend her laboratory from Covenant forces. Noble 6, Carter, and Emile were ordered to transport a fragment of the AI Cortana to the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, while June 266 escorted Halsey to Castle Base on Reach. On August 30th, the Pillar of Autumn began its journey out of the system to begin Red Flag. However, the mission was interrupted when a large combined Covenant fleet, led by Supreme Commander Thel Vadami and his fleet of Particular Justice, was detected exiting slipspace on the edge of the system. Initially, the fleet was mistaken for a large planetoid that had somehow entered slipspace by remote scanning outpost Fermion. The station's commander, Chief Petty Officer McRobb, sent an emergency message to FleetCom and ordered self-destruct to prevent the station's data from falling into enemy hands. This fleet had been drawn to the system by a tracking device that was placed on the UNSC Iroquois during the earlier battle of Sigma Octanus IV, with the intention of using it to find human colony worlds. When the Iroquois returned to Reach, the presence and extent of the human colony worlds was revealed to this new Covenant faction. In orbit over Reach, the Covenant fleet faced off against the outnumbered Epsilon Eridani fleet. The Covenant fleet, consisting of 315 ships, appeared at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system, catching the UNSC fleet off guard. In response, Admiral Roland Fremont issued UNSC Alpha Priority Transmission 04592-Z83, ordering all ships in the Epsilon Eridani system to converge at Rally Point Zulu near Reach in preparation for the upcoming attack. While the UNSC fleet was still consolidating, the Covenant began their assault on the orbital defenses. Only 100 UNSC ships were available at this time, and 53 belated ships, including the UNSC Pillar of Autumn, had to fight their way through Covenant warships to join the main fleet. Spartan John 117 recognized the battle as an opportunity to board a Covenant warship and ordered the preparation of a Pelican dropship for potential infiltration. The Pillar of Autumn was able to repel the Seraphs with its point defense guns before destroying a Covenant carrier. Meanwhile, at Rally Point Zulu, 100 UNSC ships, including destroyers, frigates, 3 cruisers, 2 carriers, and 3 refit stations, had gathered to defend Reach. The Covenant fleet made their move towards the orbital defenses, launching a barrage of plasma torpedoes that were partially absorbed by the sacrifice of 3 refit and repair stations. However, this allowed the defenders to return fire and take down a full third of the Covenant fleet using the orbital defense platforms and nuclear mines. The vaporized titanium A armor of the refit stations also acted as a shield to block incoming plasma torpedoes. Despite this success, the UNSC force began to scatter, losing 50 more ships to trailing plasma torpedoes. The MAC platforms managed to secure a further 16 Covenant kills, while the Covenant maneuvered for clear shots around the titanium dust cloud. They were able to take down 18 more ships with MAC guns, followed by another 6, who managed to fire a salvo of plasma rounds that destroyed 5 orbital guns. A previously unknown warship type, armed with a powerful energy projector, emerged and destroyed the UNSC Minotaur and 4 other ships before temporarily withdrawing. After the initial assault that decimated the UNSC defenders and left only 20 ships operational, the main Covenant fleet withdrew to regroup. However, Captain Keyes ordered scans of Reach, which revealed that the Covenant had instead deployed dropships to the planet's poles to launch an invasion. In response, the remaining fleet and Supermax divided into 2 groups, targeting the dropships at each pole. Although many of the transports were destroyed by the Max, hundreds of dropships were still able to land, unleashing thousands of Covenant troops. The renewed ground assault quickly destroyed the Fleet Command headquarters, while the Covenant fleet prepared for another assault on the planet. Ships utilized pinpoint slipspace jumps to enter the UNSC formation and attack the ODPs directly. This strategy left them briefly vulnerable, but provided a tactical advantage. The departure of the Spartan teams aboard their Pelicans was immediately followed by the arrival of a Covenant frigate behind the Pillar of Autumn. The cruiser turned around to face the ship, and 2 additional frigates emerged from slipspace to flank the first. A Supermac round took out the first frigate, while the Pillar of Autumn engaged the starboard vessel. The remaining frigate was destroyed by a second Supermac. The 2 enemy frigates retaliated with a barrage of plasma bolts, which destroyed 2 additional platforms and brought the total number of Macs down to 13. The UNSC responded by using their remaining Archer missiles to eliminate several boarding craft attempting to stop John 117 on Gamma Station. The UNSC Herodotus and UNSC Musashi were destroyed by the returning Q-pattern battleship, which was beyond the range of the ODPs. In response, the UNSC Pillar of Autumn fired a missile and Max salvo at the battleship, taking down its shielding. The battleship retaliated, severely damaging the Autumn. The Autumn launched a Shiva nuclear device, which detonated inside the battleship's recharged shielding, causing it to disintegrate. The Autumn withdrew to Beta Gabriel to slingshot back into the system, while more Covenant ships entered the fray. The orbital defense generators were being overrun at this point. Finally, the Pillar of Autumn managed to execute a Class L flash dock and landed at the ASZOD ship breaking yards, the only remaining off-world extraction point, where it awaited the arrival of Noble Team. During the battle for Reach, Covenant ground forces tried to destroy the orbital defense generators by landing on Reach. However, the Marine forces, with the help of Spartans, were able to defend against the first few waves of Covenant forces. While some Spartans were sent to Gamma Station, the remaining Spartans were designated Red Team and deployed to Orbital Defense Generator Facility A331 to assist in the defense of the station. However, their transport, Bravo 001, was shot down, resulting in the deaths of 4 Spartans. Later, surviving Spartans discovered Charlie Company and were briefed on the situation, which led to Frederick 104 splitting the remains of Red Team into 4 groups. Team Alpha was tasked with eliminating an encampment of 10,000 Covenant and their hovering cruiser. Team Beta was tasked with defending the orbital defense generators. Team Gamma was ordered to retrieve Whitcomb, and Team Delta was ordered to secure the Spartans' fallback point at Castle Base. The ground force started closing on Facility A331, and Beta Romeo Actual ordered her team and the remnants of Charlie Company to leave. Meanwhile, the Covenant began the glassing of Reach after eliminating the powerless, immobile ODPs in geosynchronous orbit around the planet. During the final battle for Reach, the Covenant deployed thousands of ground forces to destroy the orbital defense generators. However, the initial waves of Covenant forces were met with heavy resistance from Marine forces, including 3 Spartans led by John 117, while sustaining significant casualties. The remaining Spartans, designated as Red Team, were deployed to assist in the defense of Orbital Defense Generator Facility A331. They were transported by Pelican Bravo 001 which was escorted by several GATL-1 longsword strike craft. 3 of the escorting ships eventually peeled off to engage pursuing Seraphs. The Pelican received instructions from Golden Arrow to head for Mount Torat, despite its severe damage. The crew informed Golden Arrow that Spartans were aboard, which changed their tone. However, the Pelican was ultimately shot down and crashed in the military wilderness training preserve in the Highland Mountains. The Spartans were forced to jump out of the doomed Pelican, resulting in the deaths of 4 Spartans, including Malcolm 059, and several others were wounded. Nonetheless, due to their familiarity with the terrain, the Spartans were able to mount a meaningful resistance against the Covenant. The Spartans who survived the Pelican crash stumbled upon the shell-shocked remnants of Charlie Company's Gamma, one near their crash site. Vice Admiral Danforth Whitcomb had assigned Charlie Company the task of recovering prototype Nova bombs from a base in the region. On their way to the objective, they were compelled to assist in defending the orbital defense facilities, with Gamma 1 stationed at generator A331. Unfortunately, as the Covenant approached the defense generators, someone at HICOM panicked and ordered longswords to bomb everything within 500 meters. This led to the destruction of the Covenant ground forces in that area, but also resulted in catastrophic friendly fire. Charlie Company was left with only 4 men, and its leaders, Lieutenants Jake Chapman and Buckman, were cut off from their subordinates. Upon receiving a thorough briefing from Charlie Company regarding the situation, the Spartans swiftly responded to a distress call from Whitcomb, who urgently requested evacuation. Taking charge as the Spartan commander, Frederick 104 strategized the division of the remaining Red Team into 4 distinct groups. Firstly, Team Alpha, comprised of Frederick 104, Kelly 087, and Joshua 029, embarked on a crucial mission. Their objective was to neutralize a formidable encampment housing 10,000 Covenant troops, all while avoiding any actions that might jeopardize the orbital defense generators. Damaging these generators would render them inoperable, inadvertently aiding the Covenant in achieving their own goals. This task demanded utmost precision and coordination. Meanwhile, Team Beta assumed responsibility for safeguarding the orbital defense generators, recognizing their pivotal role in the overall defense strategy. Their primary focus was to ensure the uninterrupted functionality and protection of these critical assets. Team Gamma, consisting of Lee 008, Anton 044, and Grace 093, received explicit orders to retrieve Whitcomb, whose evacuation was of utmost importance. With a clear objective in mind, they set out to locate and safely extract Whitcomb from the perilous situation, employing their specialized skills and unwavering determination. Lastly, Team Delta, comprising the brave Charlie Company Marines and 6 wounded Spartans, including William 043, Isaac 039, and Vin 030, took charge of securing the Spartans' fallback point at Castle Base. Their mission was to establish a fortified position, ensuring the safety and stability of the team as they carried out their respective assignments. Together, the Spartans rallied under the leadership of Frederick 104, utilizing their exceptional training, unparalleled abilities, and unyielding spirit to confront the imminent challenges. The success of their individual tasks would ultimately determine the outcome of this critical operation, with the fate of both humanity and the defense against the Covenant hanging in the balance. After being ignored by the Gruntzawaz, who mistook them for elites on a covert mission, Team Alpha hijacked 3 Banshees and made their way to the Covenant encampment. They utilized Fury tactical nuclear weapons within the shields of the Covenant ship to destroy the encampment and nullify the EMP effect that could have taken out the orbital defense generators. Unfortunately, Joshua lost his life during the process as he was hit by a barrage of light weapons fire from the 10,000 Covenant ground forces surrounding the cruiser. The surviving members of Team Alpha retreated to Castle Base, commandeering 2 Wraiths to clear their way through the remaining Covenant forces in the area. Meanwhile, Team Gamma accomplished their mission and withdrew to Camp Independence with Whitcomb, where they managed to survive the planet's partial glassing. Team Beta Red was tasked with defending Generator A331 alone, while Gamma 5 took refuge at Generator A412. The Covenant attacked A412 with 2 divisions, ultimately destroying the facility and leaving only 14 survivors. The remaining members of Gamma 5 gathered 2 Warthogs in a radio van and headed towards Gamma 1. During their journey, Recon 43 provided scouting and spotted a small Covenant force consisting of 3 Ghosts and 24 infantry. Despite being warned not to engage, they did so when they realized that the small force was actually the vanguard of a large armor convoy. The unit was presumably killed. As the massive Covenant ground force closed in on Facility A331, Beta Romeo Actual instructed her team and the remaining members of Charlie Company to retreat while the enemy was distracted. The team set up automated turrets before leaving, while the Covenant's massive armored convoy of 32 Wraith tanks and 600 infantry closed in. Gamma 5 used a drone to monitor the situation as the Spartans of Beta Red engaged in close combat with the enemy lines, allowing Team Delta and Charlie Company to make their way out of the area. As Team Delta and the remaining members of Charlie Company retreated, they contacted Iron Fist for extraction. However, the Covenant attacked with swarms of thousands, compromising the orbital defense generators and initiating the glassing of Reach. Despite their efforts, Team Beta was unable to stop the Covenant's advance. A member of Beta Red managed to warn Fred 104 that the generators were overrun before likely perishing in the attack. The UNSC Majestic destroyed the Covenant cruisers at generator A331, but it was too late for Team Beta Red. Charlie Company narrowly escaped the blast and fell back to Castle Base with Team Delta, who lost all but 3 Spartans. The weakened planet had fallen to the Covenant with relative ease after weeks of invasion. Upon arriving at Castle Base, Catherine Halsey was among those waiting for them. During the space battle, the AI Doppler, who controlled Reach Station Gamma, was unable to destroy the vital information on board the UNSC Circumference, an Oni prowler involved in Operation Hypodermic. As the Covenant deployed troops to the station, Doppler reported the violation of the Cole Protocol to the Pillar of Autumn before self-destructing to prevent further violation. Captain Jacob Keyes responded by sending John 117, James 005, and Linda 058 to the station. Although they succeeded in destroying the nav database on board Reach Station Gamma, James and Linda were lost in the process. The team was able to rescue some Marines on board the station, including Staff Sergeant Avery Jr. Johnson and Privates Wallace Jenkins, Vicente, and O'Brien, who were evacuated by Pelican back to the Pillar of Autumn. Linda 058 was declared clinically dead, but there was still a chance to save her, so she was placed in a cryo chamber. Despite John 117's request for Lieutenant Hall to scan for James, who had been blown into space, they were unable to locate him. As the fight for Reach neared its end, the Pillar of Autumn landed at the ASZOD ship breaking yards to get repairs and received the Cortana fragment that Noble Team was tasked to deliver to Keyes. The arrival of Covenant forces at the shipyards led to troops landing and occupying most of the area. Despite this, the docked Autumn was able to fend off the Covenant attackers. Upon reaching the outskirts of the ASZOD ship breaking yards, the remaining members of Noble Team, Carter A-259, Emil A-239, and Spartan B-312, were sent by Carter to deliver the package containing Cortana's fragment to Keyes. Carter then sacrificed himself to destroy a scarab, giving both Emil and Noble 6 valuable time to complete their mission. Emil and Noble 6 fought their way to the shipyards and joined up with surviving UNSC ground troops. Keyes then ordered the Spartans to clear landing platform Delta for his arrival to collect the package. Emil took charge of a mass driver to provide cover fire for the Autumn, while 6 eliminated the Covenant troops on the platform. Keyes arrived in a Pelican to personally retrieve the package from Noble 6, but a Ket-pattern battle cruiser suddenly appeared, heading towards the Autumn. Keyes ordered Emil to destroy the cruiser, but he was killed by a pair of Sangheli zealots. The Spartan was able to kill the zealots, but he died, leaving the mass driver unmanned. With the cruiser approaching, Noble 6 volunteered to take control of the gun. After Keyes retrieved the package from Noble 6, he returned to the Pillar of Autumn and readied the ship for departure. Meanwhile, 6 commandeered the mass driver and successfully eliminated several enemy aircraft, including Phantoms and Banshees. However, the Covenant cruiser continued to approach and prepare its energy projector to take out the Autumn. With no other options, 6 aimed directly at the ship's exposed glassing port and fired, causing a massive explosion that severely damaged the cruiser. After eliminating all hostile forces, the Pillar of Autumn lifted off and fled Reach, entering slipspace soon after. A dozen Covenant ships followed in pursuit, while the rest remained behind to complete the glassing of Reach. Meanwhile, Noble 6, who was stranded at the shipyards, valiantly battled the Covenant invaders. Canonically, Noble 6 held out for several hours, and the last stand eventually involved an entire Covenant army, complete with wraiths and a variety of air support. So the Covenant as a whole clearly thought of 6 as a massive threat, and not just another bug to be stamped out. And the elites, of course, saw a massive opportunity to